Hey guys, it's time for another update in our Anvil Award competition presented by Hungry Howie's. The coach, Tim Beckler, is back with us in the chair. He has his notes, and we are ready to talk about an award competition season that is starting to wind down. Now, let me just say right off the top that the voting in this competition ends on Tuesday, November 19th at noon. So, as we project, Rocco Spindler will win the online vote, and he will then move automatically into the Final Four. We call him the People's Champion because the people have spoken. He automatically has a 20% advantage over everybody else to win, but he's got to come up big in the other categories. We have a criteria, and that's how we do it. Now, we have several guys that are still alive in the regional championships, and, we'll talk about the first big epic matchup, and that is Belleville and West Bloomfield. Ironically, we have two Mr. Football candidates in being the quarterback for Belleville and the running back for West Bloomfield that are still alive as well. So we've got four guys who are up for either Mr. Football or Anvil Award playing on this weekend. So big game, and let's start with Damon Payne and Belleville, and what they've been able to do this season has been truly, truly dominant.
It has been, and this is a great matchup with West Bloomfield's Cornell Wheeler. West Bloomfield replaced 3 interior linemen last year. Earlier on this season, they are getting better, but Belleville has 4 of their 5 linemen back from last year's team, and they are absolutely rolling right now. But it's going to be a weather game, It's going to be, I think, decided up front on both sides of the ball. I think it's going to come down to the linemen. Can West Bloomfield's D-line keep blockers off Wheeler so he can roam and play sideline to sideline? And can Payne and his pals dominate West Bloomfield's kind of inexperienced offensive line?
In these kind of games, in these weather games, how do you predict the team that's going to have the most success? Where is it going to come from? Is it going to come from the line, the trenches right up front, or is it going to come from someone like a corner with the linebackers who are floating? And because obviously teams, for the most part, will probably be running the ball more.
When it's cold out, and the short passing game, I think, is what really gets hurt the most, because typically the ball's thrown a little sharper, a little harder, and it's a little harder to throw that, and it's a lot harder to catch that ball. The longer passes, if it's not windy, those tend to float in the hands. Those are a little bit easier to catch. So, who's better at doing that? But again, when you want to throw the ball downfield, you've got to have time to do that.
These two teams getting at it now, it really is something that, we just need to realize it's special.
It is special, and both teams have so many good football players on it. I think Belleville's got a few more, though. Another
team that is rolling is Jackson Lumen Christi. 33rd straight win for them. And I'll tell you what, they love to run the ball, so that means you got to have guys up front who can move bodies.
And they've got Keegan Smith. He's one of the best in obviously Division 7 in the state as well. They pounded Riverview Gabriel Richard 42-14. And that was their 6th district championship in a row. That's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
However, this week they do play Schoolcraft. And Schoolcraft, they may be one of the few teams in Division 7, not to say they can beat them, but can at least test them. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, and they've got a great player in Kobe Clark, who is the son of course, the legend Benny Clark from Ravenna.
Right. If you're going to take the game that I know was the top matchup on your plate as far as last weekend, was the Zeeland West Edwardsburg battle, because those were two teams that had to battle an offense, what do you call it, the wing T, tight T. However, it's definitely something that we were looking forward to see who would win that slugfest. And it turns out Edwardsburg got the better of them.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on that film. 16-2. I thought it would be low scoring, but not that low scoring. Yeah. But they're both coached by great coaches, and obviously Josh Preby is a tremendous player. I don't care what division.
Right.
He's phenomenal. Now they face DeWitt, who does have experience defending the wing T. My friend Charlie Otlewski used to run it at Hazlitt, and they had some battles with DeWitt, and so I know they have some experience in defending the power T. Could be an interesting matchup.
And so this is when, again, the rubber really meets the road, because after this one, that is when the Big Reds from Muskegon lay in wait. One of the great stories has been the run that Sterling Heights Stevenson has been on this season. We have talked about Giovanni El-Hadi and his skills, and this team as a whole have really rallied around each other since just barely getting into the playoffs, beating Warren Mott. They needed a field goal late to do that. Got in at 5-4, then faced Mott again. Always tough playing team 2 weeks in a row. Were able to defeat them, and then of course went on to Macomb, Dakota, who upset the defending state champ Chippewa Valley and beat them 38-35. This was obviously a gut wrencher, a gut buster. First district title for Stevenson since they made the championship game in 2009. Jason Fracasa's team, our Mr. Football from that year. But I'll tell you what. When you're going to win now and in games that are this high scoring, in the late stages, and you need points, you need your linemen to be able to continue to give to allow you to run the offense you need to in order to be successful in the playoffs.
No question, and Giovanni's a great player. And his team, is very dangerous right now. They're winning from coming from behind. Yeah. They're winning close games. They know what it takes to play 4 quarters of football and to win those close games, and I think they're dangerous. They've got a tough one with Cass Tech this week, but sometimes chemistry hits, teams get on a roll, and they just compete and compete and compete, and they could get Cass Tech this week.
Yeah, absolutely. El-Hadi and his teammates are definitely going to need to rise up again and be able to face the kind of competition that they are getting set to face, because Cass Tech is a team that really surprised everyone, just barely made themselves getting into the playoffs, and what they've been able to do as they've been pounding opponents. So, and tons of D1 talent. In fact, we had a former Anvil guy on that squad who we'll see coming up because he's a youngster. So, all right, well, that, Rocco Spindler is likely going to be the winner of the vote. So it's going to be real interesting. We have to decide our Final Four next week. We will do that. We'll get in a room. So by this time next week, you're going to know who our Final Four is. Again, the vote ends at noon, so make sure you go over to statechampsnetwork.com, noon on Tuesday, the 19th. Go over to statechampsnetwork.com, click on the Anvil banner on the homepage, and vote for your guy. And we will then get in a room and we'll decide who are going to be our Final Four guys in the Anvil Award competition for 2019. We will then choose our champion immediately following the state championship. So, Coach, thanks again for your time, and we'll talk at you next week.